Welcome to Between Two Teachers. We're missing our videographer today, so we're going to look a little different, but it is Between Two Teachers. We're here. So I'm Madeline Kronenberg.
And I'm Consuelo Lara.
And this is another important episode because today we're going to talk about what's happening right now in mid-January in education in California and nationally, but particularly in California.
And we're coming from the sacred lands.
We're coming from the sacred, lands of Chochenyo, Karkin, Ohlone. Mm-hmm. Those are the names of the native land that we are on now. An important thing to always remember.
Honor, yes.
I just wanted to say something about the news today, the education news. And the education news in the Bay Area today had to do with San Francisco Unified. And San Francisco Unified has the same budget problem that West Contra Costa and many other school districts have. So it cannot be overstated the level of challenge that we all have around special education funding. They announced today that they are tens of millions of dollars in deficit, and the deficit is caused by an additional great number of children that they couldn't have anticipated who are added to the special ed students in their district that have to be funded. And the funding needs for these children has exploded in terms of the dollars that are spent.
Absolutely. And
it's a huge problem for California, for all of our children. So what we really have to do, it's not the problem of those children. It's the problem is that the state doesn't take responsibility for funding it, and neither does the federal government. So it's the famous unfunded mandate. And nobody's complaining about the mandate. What the complaint is with the unfunding. Because it is funded. It's funded by other children who don't get what they need because this new bill comes in that they had no reason, no responsibility for, but that has to be paid. So we need to really focus on that, ask the Democratic Party to focus on it, and do what we did with the charter schools and really make a difference in special ed funding. And that would help everybody in California public schools. So that's my big plea from the news. The other news has been local, and that was the meetings that you had this week.
Yeah, we had our board meeting on Wednesday, and a lot of good things happened. Of course, the resolution for African American resolution passed, and that was a very good thing. But there was also some things that happened that were not so good or really disruptive and to our district. And this is my personal opinion about an organization that's out there that has a lot of influence in our district, and they are not they don't have the best interest of our school district at heart. And that organization is called GO. They are funded by charter school money. And when I look at these two publications, they come up and said, we're grassroots. We're all about parents. We are a parent group. And that's a blatant lie, because this publication was not put out by parents. It is very expensive publication. It is put out by a corporation. So to say that somehow they are a grassroots parent organization is a lie. So the other thing too is I've read these things over and over and over again, and all they are insults to our district. How is that constructive? How is that making education better in our district? And it's not. And they insult, they have false equivalencies, they are comparing school sites and environments where the populations are totally different. They also have schools with unlimited funding, etc. And I remember some months ago talking to, I think Miss Lopez is her name, and she said, oh, we want to do more data. And I said, okay, for what? Data for what? Oh, for the teachers and for the schools. Okay, and what are they going to do with this data? Well, then they can use it. And use it for what? I was a teacher. How is your data going to help me be a better teacher? And of course, there's no answer to that because that's not the purpose of their data. Their data is to just demonize the district and to say how horrible the district is and to set up the district and so that they could say, now we need more charters, you guys are failing, etc., over and over and over again. There is nothing in here. You will never see Go or hear Go or any of the charter organizations use this word improve because they don't want to improve the district. They want to sabotage it from the inside out.
Right.
That is their goal. And one of the ways they do that is by so-called training of parents so that the parents absorb these insults and they go up and they just go over and over and over how horrible the district is, but offering nothing themselves to improve the district. Nothing.
They train parents to be advocates for their children, which certainly is a wonderful thing, and we want parents to be advocates for their children. But in the course of being an advocate, the subtext is to demonize the people who are working to support their children, to demonize the schools and the principals, the teachers and principals and staff in the schools where their children are. Because what they're continually discussing is failing schools. Schools don't fail. I mean, buildings can, but that's not what they're talking about. They're talking about the people. They are demonizing the people who are working with their children. That's what's created the teacher shortage. Because who wants to go into a field where you're demonized? I mean, nobody's demonizing the tech community, right? Nobody's saying, oh, it's your fault. No, but they do. Teachers have been demonized for the past 20 years since the charter movement has started, and they started talking about failing schools, right? Failing schools is different than saying schools we need to help. Failing schools is a judgment.
Exactly. So I'm a retired teacher from this district. I know this district. I know these children, and I love them. And I resent all of this attack on my district, my community, my schools, because I worked in these districts. And it's an insult to me as a retired teacher from this district. Also, I'm an elected official. I was elected by individuals in the district who knew me and that I am going to fight for these children, that I'm going to fight for this education, I'm going to fight for this district. That is my job to do that. And that is my role, and I need to bring to people's attention. This is all about what you need to know. And you need to know these are not friends of our district. I know that. I've seen it. I know that for a fact. So this is not helping us at all. The other thing that happened, did you have anything?
No,
Okay.
I think you've
All right.
said it all.
I'm on a roll here.
Yes.
Another thing that happened is that Aspire came up for their petition.
Another charter school,
Aspire. And I was interested in a couple things. They get renewed. I mean, they have unlimited resources, so they can hire everybody they need in order to satisfy the petition requirements. So there's almost no reason to not vote for the renewal, right? And they automatically get 5 years, and that's something I really want us to work on. 5 years is ridiculous. It should be year by year, I think. But one of the things I asked, I was very interested in, I'm always interested in who's making money on these charter schools. We've got Summit, Aspire, Making Waves. Who are these individuals in the background that people are not speaking their names?
Right, and remember, this is the $27.9 million that gets drained out of our schools. So who does it go to? That's the question.
We want to know.
Where does it go?
So one of the things they send us is their budget, which is really great, very complete, and it says rent. So I asked them, how much rent do you pay? And of course, they didn't have it on the tip of their tongues, but they could look it up. And I said, well, let me tell you, I have it here. $445,000 a year. So that means another $50. We're talking $500,000 to rent a year. And they said, yeah, that's correct. And who does it go to? I wanted to know. And they gave up the name.
Chamberlin.
Mr. Chamberlin. I thought, oh, that's interesting. I keep hearing that name. He is a local philanthropist and donor. And he is also a vendor. It seems like there's a conflict of interest there. However, all of this, he also gets utilities, repairs and maintenance. I mean, there's just a lot of money here that goes straight to him. And yet we hear no outrage about all of this money, $500,000 in rent that goes to him. That's one school, one of the schools.
Now, it's perfectly legal.
Oh, all of this is legal. It's all legal.
Right, because this is how the charter school laws were drafted. And they drafted a way for, once the opportunity to have a parallel school system became available, you had to find a location for the children. And the location brings in the real estate industry. And that's where Mr. Chamberlin became interested in education.
Yeah.
Because it was a place where you could, before that, there was no interest from real estate and education because there was nothing to buy. There were just school buildings. But once this private expansion, once we became privatized in some ways, it became of interest to the real estate development community.
It's a franchise. It's a franchise. And there are many Aspire charters up and down the state of California. I think there's over 20, I believe. So it is a great investment for real estate developers and real estate investors. And so that's what he's done. So but the thing of it is, I just want everybody to know this. Everyone needs to know this. And if you're fine with this, then you are really making a choice to support charters. If you don't know this, then you're kind of in the dark and just believing the hype. But you need to know you follow the money and understand who's behind it, and that they also do other things like support elections, etc., which will bring you more about that information as well. And the same individual is funding, or at least partially, this organization. So, there's a whole connection here of a relationship of how the money flows and the influence and the power and the control over our schools. So that's the issue. That's something and now you know, kind of thing.
Exactly. I mean, and the next thing you need to know is how our community can in fact impact our schools. And that's at the ballot box. This is something we can do, and everyone can do. And that is support our ballot measure that's on the March 3rd ballot called Measure R. So here we go. Yes on R is what we're talking about. And R is an opportunity to help the district rebuild schools that need to be rebuilt, to repair schools that are in disrepair, and to provide new, renovated, replaced equipment particularly for our air conditioning systems for the 33 schools that need air conditioning, where children are in dangerously hot classrooms, where teachers have been taken to the hospital because of excessive heat. These are caused by climate change. This is not caused by anything other than that. And the fact that our buildings, more so almost than any other district in Contra Costa, many of our buildings are older, right? Our part of the county is an older part. So you've got many schools that were built during the baby boom era in the 50s and 60s. And those schools have withstood the test of time, but time has passed, and it's time for them to be updated. The way to do that is Measure R. Measure R is going to be on your ballot. Here it is. There we go.
Take one off. I just want to hold it up.
Measure R will help each of our children, all of our children, will benefit from Measure R, because once it passes, we'll be able to take a look at all of our facilities, reprioritize where the greatest needs are, and then go ahead and address them. Over the years, this community has always supported its children. We love our children. And the folks who have issues with taxes, of course, are always going to have issues with taxes. But California is not a super high tax state. There are many other states that give much more to support their children. California has had a different attitude, and because of the peculiar structures of how we pay for things. We don't tie it as much to property taxes. We had the original Prop 13. So the result of that is that we've never had, and not since Prop 13, have we had enough money to fund the kinds of things we need. And when we do need to rebuild the buildings, we have to come back to our taxpayers. So, and our voters. So all of you who are voters, please be sure to check your registration, no matter who else you're voting for, what else you're voting for on March 30th. Even if you don't vote for anything else but Measure R, please vote for Measure R, because our kids need it. Our community really, really needs your help. And there's nothing about it that is something that you couldn't be completely proud of in terms of wanting to support the children in your own community. So there's a website for it, and I'll put the link in so that you'll be able to go to it to donate for additional support. There will be yard signs available very soon. There will be opportunities to participate in volunteer activities. And all of those would be appreciated. Our teachers certainly support this. All of the family of unions that work in the district support it. The West County Dems, West County Democratic Club, unanimously supports Measure R.
Yes.
Right, as does, there's a growing list. Nancy Skinner supports it. So that there are many, many, many supporters, people who care about kids. Tony Thurman. Absolutely. Tony Thurman signed the, I don't know if he signed it, but Tony Thurman definitely supports it. He definitely endorsed it. Tony Thurman's children go to our school. They go to our school, so he's totally a supporter. Yes. So we do need you on board. We need everybody on board Measure R. So that's the big action takeaway for today.
Absolutely. That's our ask for today. Yes. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Here's a toast from Between Two Teachers.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.